actually it won't work if you don't have an emergency brake on. It won't work. You're gonna have to leave it on an emergency brake on. Then you come over and you open up your door, and you always want to make sure you're using your door secure. On both sides. And you see these marks on the door, and this will tell you why.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you've got a switch that folds it out, and lays it down, brings it back up again, and folds it back again. It's all self-explanatory on it. You've got the up and down, and the fold and unfold. So if you hit the wrong one, it doesn't stuff out on it. If you want to unfold it first, make sure you stand over the side so it doesn't hit your head. And it brings it all the way down until it stops. And then you hit the down button. And the secret is to be on level pavement because these little foot pegs underneath there are going to go down and touch the pavement and open that up for you. Sometimes if the pavement's uneven, you might want to move your vehicle where it's a little bit evener. Sometimes you don't always have best circumstances. Sometimes you're out in the road curves in, and then you got driveways that kind of curve in. We're not always on a perfect place like we are here on the parking lot, especially in the wintertime. You want to make sure those feet are able to do that when you lower it down. If not, just move to another place. So watch what it does when it hits the ground. It pulls out automatically. And then you can put an ambulatory on there. And if you do, make sure you're holding on to them while you're raising them up. But usually it's for a wheelchair. Grab this wheelchair here. Just pretend I have a client sitting there. And some of the automatic chairs, a lot of them will do it themselves. And the automatic chairs weigh a ton because they've got a battery in them. But the other ones that don't have the automatic wheelchair in there, they'll have brakes on both sides. But there'll be a client there. I always make sure their seatbelt's on. Sometimes they might have forgot to put their seatbelt on if they went to the restroom, or sometimes maybe staff didn't. But you want to make sure the seatbelt's on. Then you're going to back them up. And then put the brakes on. And then, like I say, some of the individuals don't put their own brakes on, too. Depends on the function level. But you want to make sure that either they do it or you do it, so it stays put. Then you're going to hit your up button. And again, it'll go up as high as it can, and it'll stop itself. Just like that. Then you always want to bow. And then take the brakes off, or again, they'll take them off. You take the brakes off, and then you bow and you back them in. And you back them in as far as they'll go when you put if you're only going with one person. If you're putting more than one on, you go back in, and the first one will go all the way to the back, then the second one behind them, then the third one will go here. But instead of showing you all three, I'm just going to show you how to put this in, because they all bolt down the same way. So again, you just back them all the way in, and then again, put their brakes on, or they'll put their brakes on. Now, if it's an automatic wheelchair, when you shut the wheelchair off, the brakes will go on. So you don't have to, there's no brakes to put on with the electric chair. You just shut the motor off, and the brakes are on. Then once you got them all the way in like that, you can kind of crowd around, because I'm going to show you how to buckle down.
No, that's it. Yeah.
You got these little, red button on here. Okay, when you hit this, it brings this out. As soon as you let go of it, lock. When you want to undo it to take them out, you hit that button again. It releases it. But you got 4 of these, 2 on each side. Some of them have little eyelets on them that you can put the block in. Some they don't, so you just put it on anywhere on the frame. You wouldn't want to put it on the wheel, because that wouldn't give you much stability. You sure won't want to put it up in here. You see how easy that'd rip right off. So you want to put it around the frame. And then I like to do the back tied to the front, and the front tied to the back, so it gives you a crossover like this. And then do it on both sides. Secured. Any questions on that part? Then when you go to release them, you hit that little red knob I showed you. Take them off just like that. And then every vehicle has a vehicle report form. When you get ready to go someplace, you want to put the date down on it, and then put down your miles, and then put down what time it is, and then put down a brief description of where you're going. initials at the side over there. Then when you come back, you write down the miles and what time it is. Pretty much it on this. And then you probably won't do it, but some of the house staff, there's a gas card in there. You have to have a PIN number in order to get gas. Usually it's the managers and the relief managers that have that PIN number. So if you get into a van or you come back from a trip and it's a half a tank or less of gas in it, make sure you tell somebody so they can put gas in it the next time. And if you get into a vehicle and you find that it's low on gas, go tell one of the managers you have to have something before you go get something. You don't want to go out somewhere and get stranded and have to call somebody because you're out of gas. Any questions on any of that? So I unbuckled my wheelchair. Seatbelt's still on, but sometimes they will take their seatbelt off. And then took the brakes off, and then I'm bringing them back out. Like I say, I always want to duck. You're going to hit your head on here.
At least 3 times.
Probably about the first time you go to load them in, you're going to smack your head on there.
At least
then you
3
remember
times.
what I said, you start watching your head when you go and jump from there. Bring it back out to here, take the brakes off, and then you lower it back down.
It went that way.
No, did I take them off? No. When you get down, you take them off. After you load them all the way down, then you take the brakes off. No, what you want to do is you want to check and make sure the brakes are still on when you're up there. And when you come down, you take the brakes off. Take them out. But sometimes they'll get the fidgeting with stuff and they'll either undo their seatbelt or they'll undo their brakes and you don't notice they're here. You always want to make sure that the brakes are on and the seatbelt's on whenever you do any movement, whether it's moving them in the van or moving them out of the van. Then you just take them out, and usually you take them into where they're going. Especially if the weather's bad, you don't want the client outside while you're messing with the van. So you want to take them out, take them into group home, take them into the doctor's office, take them into barber center. Then when they're in there out of the rain and out of the cold in the winter, then you come back over. Because remember, the client's always first, van second. Then you come back over and you just the same thing, raise it back up. And fold it in. And then it's got a little latch here you can put the bottom of this thing so it's not you're bobbling around on it. Then just release your door. And then close your door. Now we've got 4 of these big lift vans that got the big swinging doors like this. And we got about half a dozen of the smaller little ones, the little minivans. They don't have this big ramp on there like that. They just have, or a lift on there. They just have a little ramp that opens up. And they got roller doors. They got sliding doors. So there'd be a little handle here. You'd undo the door and then roll it back. And it locks in itself. Then when you're done, you undo the door and then bring it back over, close it. But the key is when you're opening it, you want to open it easy because it'll come off the track. We have a lot of vans that got track problems. So you want to open it easy. But when you go to close it, you want to slam it closed. Because if it's not closed all the way and you go around to hop inside and put it in gear, it'll stall.
It ain't gonna happen.
The door's not closed.
Yeah.
You always want to make sure that when you close it, you want to slam it in closed. But don't slam it open because then you'll be having roller problems. So open it easy and slam it closed. And on the smaller ones that don't have the lift van on it, they just got like a little ramp van. You just reach in there, grab the hole, and pull it out. It's like an accordion. So that's it. You pull it out, it flattens down like that. There's nothing electronic to it or anything. Any questions on that?
I have a question.
Sure.
You said, like, you're looking at some
Mhm.
you take them in here first?
Well, usually there's going to be another staff with you. You know, usually you're not going to be all by yourself. Or you could go in there and sign them in, you know, as long as they're with the doctors or a nurse or something like that. But usually you're assisting them in there because some of them can't talk, so you have to do their talking for them. But if it's pouring down rain, you don't want them out here while you're closing up all that van. So I'd at least like just get them inside the doorway, then come out, close up the van, then go back in. Whatever. I mean, you have to use your own judgment on things. On a day like this, you can have them sit there waiting for you. But if it's in the middle of winter, you know how some eerie winters can be. You won't want one of our clients just sitting there in a blizzard while you're doing all that. Usually though, when I do them, especially being the van driver, staff or the nurse or somebody meets them there. So I usually take them there and then I wheel them inside. The nurse sits there with them while they do their thing, and then I come out. And then when they call, I go back over and pick them up. You know. But if you're all by yourself and you're working with a client, I don't know, because you don't want to leave them unattended by themselves. But then on the other hand, you wouldn't want one of them sitting there in a blizzard or in a, you know. So it's your own judgment kind of thing, because it's not going to take you very long. You know what I mean, to close that thing up. Any other? That's a good question though. Any other questions?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You guys got papers for me to sign? You can go back in and I'll sign you to bring them in for you. Okay. Thanks, people.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.